Hey, what's up, my Hoopers? It's your boy Crunch Time back with another video, and today we're going over the Rudy Gobert trade. I know, I am several days late at this point, honestly, but just been busy working on other content, and I was out when I first heard the news, and there was just no way I was gonna get this recording out as fast as I wanted to, anyways. So I just kind of pushed it back till right now. So I'm gonna make it right now. Y'all still get my thoughts, but I'm late. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm late. And given that it's been a couple days, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had the choice to plan out this video and write a script and have it be scripted, but I did not because I'm lazy and I don't want a script. So I just have a couple bullet points and I'm just gonna talk naturally. I think this has been pretty good for the last few videos, so I'm just gonna keep it rolling. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment on what y'all think of the trade. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of August, so a subscription would really be appreciated. But anyways, let's just get right into this trade, man. So I'll first just go over the rules, the trade package. The Timberwolves obviously get Rudy Gobert, that's it, and the Jazz get Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leonardo Bolmaro, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, a 2023 first-round pick unprotected, 2025 first-round pick unprotected, 2027 first-round pick unprotected, and a 2029 first-round pick top 5 protected. And first thing that just hits me is, wow, that is a lot for Rudy Gobert, man. And I think it's already been driven into the ground. I think everyone already realizes how much that is for Rudy Gobert. And I don't really know what was going on behind the scenes, if there were a lot of other teams in pursuit of Rudy Gobert, but it just seems like the Timberwolves gave up way more than they might have needed to, like 4 first-round picks, or was it 5 first-round picks? 4 first-round picks, my bad. 3 of them unprotected, and 5 pretty solid players. Patrick Beverley is older, but he's a good defender, which he's going to pair well with Donovan Mitchell. We'll get into that a bit later. Malik Beasley is a solid player. Leandro, I think I read that wrong earlier. Leandro Bolmaro is a young player. I don't know much about him. Walker Kessler's young, just got drafted. He's a young player, so he's going to be up in the air, but who knows? He has potential. And Jared Vanderbilt is going to be pretty good. I like Jared Vanderbilt as a player, and he's pretty young. So giving up those 5 key players and 4 first-round picks, 3 of which unprotected, which is a lot of unprotected picks. That's a very scary sight if you're Minnesota and things don't work out. They gave a lot for Rudy Gobert. So let's just look at this trade from the Jazz's perspective first. And, they got a haul for Rudy Gobert. I think this is probably more than they were expecting to get for Rudy Gobert. I know this is more than I was expecting them to get for Rudy Gobert, and I think it's a lot more than a lot of people were expecting them to get for Rudy Gobert. But they're obviously retooling around Donovan Mitchell. Reports just came out, I think, today or yesterday, pretty recently, that they are shutting down talks of trading Donovan Mitchell. And we'll get into that a bit later, but that's indication that their plan is to retool around Donovan Mitchell for the future. And they got some pretty good shooters in the deal. They got some pretty good defenders. Patrick Beverley is cool. Jared Vanderbilt's a cool defender. So they got good shooters and good defenders to put around him, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make some more trades, make some more draft picks. But for the next few years, they are not going to be a good team. And that, for me, if I'm a Jazz owner, is pretty scary. Because for D-Mitch, for the first time in his career, he's going to be on a team where they're not in playoff contention, and he just signed an extension, so he's under wraps until at least 2025, and then 2026 if he accepts his player option. But I could see a situation where he gets very frustrated with losing, with not contending. I mean, he's already been there for however long he's been in the league, and they've always been in contention, but they've never gotten it done. And he didn't like Rudy Gobert, and they just never got really that far in the playoffs. And now these next few years, they're going to be not tanking necessarily, but they're not going to be good. And I can just see a scenario where he says, hey, I'm sick of this, and request a trade, which at that point, you lose a lot of leverage with teams, and you just won't get as much as you might get out of Donovan Mitchell if you say trade him now, especially since the more locked in a player, or the longer term that the player's contract is, the higher their value is going to be. So not trading Donovan Mitchell now, I don't know if that is the best course of action, And I mean, obviously, if they make a trade for some superstar or all-star player, then this is a totally different conversation. But I mean, if their plan is just to, trade for pretty good, all right, 3 and D players, then I can easily see a scenario where that doesn't work out because I don't know the cap on a Donovan Mitchell-led team with no other help really outside of himself. And I can see a situation where he just gets fed up and he leaves and they're just, stuck there. But I guess we'll see. But that's just what I'm going to predict. I think that Donovan Mitchell is going to ask out after a year or two of just sucking, honestly. But, yeah, we'll see how this goes. I don't know the ceiling of a Donovan Mitchell-led team with literally basically no other co-star to help him. I don't see this team getting very far, and I see Donovan Mitchell asking out soon. But that's just from the Jazz perspective. I mean, they've got picks and stuff, so even if he asks out and he's still under contract for a couple years, they could get a pretty nice haul, a pretty all-right haul. Especially seeing what they did with Rudy Gobert, they could get something pretty nice in return, and they'd still be all right because they've got a bunch of picks and a bunch of pretty young players from the Wolves. So, even if Donovan Mitchell acts out, it's not too scary for them because they are in a pretty good spot to rebuild. Now, let's look at it from, I think, the more interesting, at least right now, the more interesting perspective, the Timberwolves. And, again, they gave up a lot for Rudy Gobert. And does it even move the needle for them? That is the question. Does it move the needle? I think before the trade, they got bounced in the first round, but, they just barely made it through the playing game, but they got bounced in the first round, and they weren't a contender. They were not a contender. They were barely a playoff team. And does adding Rudy Gobert, especially depleting the roster as they have with those, with the players they traded, does it move the needle? I don't know. I predict that Rudy will slot pretty seamlessly into the lineup. They're obviously going to play him at the 5, and that switches Cat to the 4, and that's going to be a pretty interesting lineup. The two twin towers, Rudy Gobert, obviously an amazing inside interior defender, and Cat, whose defense isn't phenomenal, but I think it's been pretty underrated over these past few seasons. He's made some strides in those regards, and I think he's an all-right defender as of right now. So that defensive duo, especially in the paint, is going to be pretty good. And I think Cat can be able to switch out onto perimeter forwards to be able to defend them when Rudy can't, and that'll mask up a bit of Rudy's defensive deficiencies, I guess we'll say, with guarding players on the perimeter. So I think that twin tower lineup will be pretty good. I'm happy that I think D'Lo is staying. He's pretty all right on defense, and he's going to be really, really good at playmaking for this team and creating his own shot. He's going to be really, really good in the pick and pops with Cat, obviously, and sometimes the pick and rolls with Cat, and the pick and rolls with Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert and Cat are obviously going to give him especially Gobert in particular, are going to give him really good lob targets, and just seeing them do the pick and roll together is going to be pretty fun to see next year. But I think the most important piece in whether this trade is looked at in the future as a success or a failure is going to be on Anthony Edwards. Because if he takes a substantial leap next year, he becomes, an even better, more efficient scorer, and specifically he gets even better on defense, which he has all the tools he needs. I just think he needs to improve his defensive IQ. But he's got all the tools to be an amazing defender. If he takes a leap on the defensive end and he just takes even a step on the offensive end, because he's already pretty stellar on that end, I can see this team being pretty scary, and I can see this team being contenders, honestly. If he takes that leap on defense and that step on offense, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be contenders. I'll say that right now with full confidence. If he doesn't, however, improve, if he only improves marginally, or even worse for the Timberwolves, if he doesn't improve at all, I don't see this trade moving the needle at all. And that is a very, very scary situation because, again, they'll just be fringe. Not at this point, I don't think they'll be fringe playoff contenders. I don't think they'll be a fringe playoff team, but I don't think they'll be contenders. I think they'll be in the tier just below contenders, and that's going to suck because being that mediocre as Gobert just was on the Jazz. I mean, the Jazz weren't mediocre in the regular season, at least. They were mediocre in the playoffs, which is the problem. Being that mediocre is a scary sight, especially when you've just traded away 4 first-round picks, along with a bunch of other players, pretty young players too, for the most part. It's going to be scary. So I think it's all on Anthony Edwards on whether he takes that leap or doesn't. Because, especially since they depleted the roster, they don't have the depth they need. And we've seen, especially with the 2 teams in the finals this year, the Warriors and the Celtics both had depth. Depth is really important in today's modern NBA, and they, especially when they don't necessarily have a superstar or 2 superstars, it's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard, man. So I think it all depends on Anthony Edwards if he takes that leap. If not, doesn't move the needle, and Jazz might be forced to, not the Jazz, the Timberwolves might be forced to blow it up, which that will be brutal for them. That this could really blow up in their faces. Which one do I think is more likely? I believe in Anthony Edwards. So I think he'll take that leap next year, and they will be contenders. I predict second round, maybe even a conference finals appearance, but I still got other teams above them in the West. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see how they retool their bench. If they get a couple pretty key bench pieces, I could see them being definitely firmly, solidly in the contender spot, and I could probably pick them coming out of the West depending on how they play this offseason. But anyways, let me know down in the comments what y'all think about this trade. Do you think, they definitely gave up too much for a Gobert, but do you think it could be worth it in the end? Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. But with that being said, it's been your boy Crunch Time, and I'll see you next time. Peace.